If you came to find out, what does it mean our success is your success? You've joined the right conversation. I have with me today Patrick O'Brien, CEO of LenderLogix. I am Alex Kutsishin. I'm the co-founder CEO here at Sales Boomerang. And today, again, the topic is our success is your success. And we're going to dive right into it. Remember, though, what makes these conversations great is engagement. The more you engage, the more questions you ask, the more challenges you throw out there, the more you will get out of this conversation. So Patrick and I are going to be talking about some best practices. We're going to be talking about things that matter when it comes to partnering with the right partners. You're going to see us use that word more than the V word, which you'll see what the V word in just a second is, but we're going to be using that word a lot. And so to get you guys engaged, to get you off of your phones and emails, we start with a poll right off the bat. So why don't we start with this? What does your favorite partner do that you wish others did? Now, remember, we use the word partner, the V word that I'm talking about, and you'll see it come up a little bit later as a specific purpose is vendor. There's a very big difference between partner and vendor. We're going to talk about that. But tell us, what does your favorite partner do that you wish others did? Weekly calls, on-site visits, supports, our events, roadmap participation, training. What does your favorite partner do that you wish all of them did? I want to hear from everyone in the audience. And if it's not something on here, that's what the chat's for. Don't hesitate. Put into chat. Hey, they take us to Hawaii every year. Okay, just throw it out there. We don't know what they're doing, but we'd love to hear, and everybody on this call would love to hear this too. So we'll give this another 15 seconds, and then we're going to get the results of this. What does your favorite partner do that you wish others did?
If anybody's sending anyone to Hawaii, I'd prefer that they let us know who that is so we can specifically start doing business with them. What do you
think? That's it. You see, we want to find out who that partner is and take their idea from them and use it with our own clients. All right, let's see the results of this poll. Here we go. So, weekly calls. All right. And training. So weekly calls and training was the big thing that came up, and support our events was another one that was mentioned. So what we're hearing here is that you all want to be communicated to regularly with value. Those two things, weekly calls, communication, training, value, right? Both of them are kind of sandwiched between value. What did you expect to see, Patrick? What did you think was going to come back?
I think the weekly calls, like, you deal oftentimes with, again, maybe some of those people, vendors or non-partners, but, they oftentimes they might sell you something and kind of walk away. So I think weekly calls is an interesting one because, that just kind of shows that, that partner is definitely more invested in making sure of successful rollout and that they're hearing the success stories from you. So that's a good cadence for something like that.
And it's a commitment thing, guys. When your partner is ready to be on a weekly call with you, time is precious. And so if they're valuing the relationship, they're looking to make a relationship work. And if a weekly call is what's relevant and important, your partner should understand that and find ways to get that done. We have weekly calls with clients that last 5 minutes. Right? They come in, here's the topic. Yes, it got done. What's the topic for next? Right. And then you move on. But that constant communication and relationship building is key. And then also training. Training is key. So if you guys are on this call and you're not getting training, okay, not everyone put that into the, if you're not getting training, okay, and you can put it in chat if you wanted to, and you have to only click one box. If you're not getting training, that's very important. That's another commitment that a partner should have. And while we're on the topic of partner and vendor, right before I go to the next slide, look, Patrick and I said we were going to talk about this. There's a big difference between vendor and partner. If you're going to take a note, take this note. A vendor is someone that gives you what you want. A partner is someone that gives you what you need. Okay. Patrick, I think you made this quote. What's the quote from Henry Ford?
Yeah. If Henry Ford did exactly what his customers asked for, we just would have had faster horses.
Right.
So, it's listening to those customers, hearing what their needs are, listening to what problems they're trying to solve, and building and making enhancements based on that feedback, and not just kind of, oh, you need this, like, we'll just build this feature and build that feature. And it's much more holistic than that.
So look, remember, the concept of this conversation is what's good for you is good for us, right? It's about the partnership. And if you look at your relationships right now, quickly Rolodex through your mind, how many vendors do you have, and how many partners do you have? How many vendors are just giving you what you need? I mean, I'm sorry, what you want. You're asking, they're giving it. You're asking, they're giving it. And then for some reason, 6 months later, like something isn't working. Versus the partners that are like, wait a minute, what is it? What is important for you? What are you trying to accomplish? Why are you asking for this? What if this works? We're working with 200 other lenders. These things work for them. Instead of giving you what you want, this has worked for them. You haven't even brought this up. Why don't we implement this solution for you that should have a much better result? So think for yourself, partner versus vendor. Okay, question. What does good customer service entail? How can we turn it from good to great? What do you think, Patrick? What is great about, like, what does great customer service look like?
I think for us, when you can start to talk to every single person that's going to touch your software, that's going to touch your solution, and not just understand, hey, this is the person that's paying the bill, but if I have a borrower interacting with my software, what does their experience look like? Am I willing to talk to to get down to there and talk to those borrowers, hear what their challenges are, what their experiences in using the software? So those are sometimes the things that you see that kind of people take it to the next level and really begin to understand what does everybody's experience look like on that value chain.
Yeah. So customer service, right? When you're working with a partner, customer service is about being part of your team. Right? What does it mean to service the same people you're servicing? And then, just like as an organization, as a leader of your organization, you're servicing your originator, right? You're there for them so they can be there for your customer. As a partner, we're there for your team the same way. We need to service your team. We need to be there for your team and understand the direction in which you're going. There's a big problem we see with partners, vendor relationships, is that there is no clear communication of what your goals are for the next 6 months, next 12 months. If Patrick knew, I knew, believe me, we have the resources, the team, the experience that will literally help you get to your goals. So what's great customer service entail? Communication, hard conversations, reaching for the same goal, setting goals to surpass what you think you can accomplish, because now you have an extended team in Patrick, an extended team in Alex, and all the people that we have here. All of your good partners have to be an extension of your team, not a subset that sits in a silo. So good customer service, again, goes back to doing what you want. Great customer service is about pushing your team, being responsive, listening, and going above and beyond what your own expectations were, because you just added staff that you didn't have on payroll, right? So that is what great customer service is all about. Oh, I'm sharing the wrong presentation. It's missing a couple of links. Oh, no, there it is. Here we go. Let me make this full screen again. Sorry, guys. Let's make this full screen again. Boom. All right.
Yeah, going back to your point before, also about
they're going.
When you were making when we asked the poll about what people like in the weekly calls. It's so easy now. I mean, you probably think back when you started Sales Boomerang, it was a lot harder to kind of do these Zoom calls and things like that. Like now it's so easy to engage with the consumer, have them share their screen, show you what they're doing. Technology's come a long way, just kind of in terms of allowing us to have those conversations with our customers. Whereas you probably think back, I don't know, when you started the company, it was just the screen sharing and things like that just wasn't where is today.
That's right. That's exactly right. So let's talk about this. Top service objectives. Okay. What is a great partner about, right? Starting with technological capabilities, right? Top service technological capabilities. Number one, training. You guys mentioned this already. Training is very important. If your partner isn't offering training, you need to understand why. What is happening? Training is key. Support. What does their support look like? Get to know your partners. Get to understand how their support will help you reach your goals, right? You need to know that you are not just dealing with one point of contact, that if that person is sick, that if that person is in the middle of something, that you won't get a response for days or weeks. Not good. Understand the support side of it. Ease of onboarding. We cannot stress this enough, Patrick. How important is it for a partner, a lender relationship, the onboarding part of it?
I mean, when as a partner, what questions, you've been asked all the questions, right? So,
Yes.
going into these things, like, where the pitfalls are going to be, where people are going to get stuck on certain things. So kind of being thoughtful and mindful when you're onboarding a client, to know, like, hey, I'm already anticipating the questions you're going to ask. That's what a partner does, is kind of knows those pitfalls, instead of just selling you a shiny new object, but actually understanding, like, okay, based on our prior experience, we know this is where people get hung up, and paying certain attention to those things as part of the onboarding process is really, it takes a lot of effort on behalf of the partner, but it pays off.
So look, here at Sales Boomerang, Patrick, and everyone that's listening here, one of the things that we really focused on, exactly what Patrick just said, being able to anticipate a question and have it answered already. And behind the scenes, you guys have all heard the phrase, you play like you practice. Behind the scenes, Sales Boomerang practices, can we get somebody stood up in less than a week? And the answer is yes, we can, as long as everyone on the lender side is in line, which typically that's where the bottlenecks come. It's okay, because you have a lot more moving parts. You have compliance, you have things you have to get through. You have to have the right people and the right calls always. And that's not as easy. But I just want you to know, and I know Patrick, you and your team have the same philosophy. We are prepared to move as fast as needed. And so we have been dialing in. When we started the company, 5 years ago, it was 30, 45 days. Right? Actually, sometimes we had 60 days. Then we got it down to 45. We got it down to 40, 30. And now behind the scenes, if you're ready to go, we're ready to go. Within 7 days, you can be up and running. That's what you want to look for a partner. You want to ask your partner, if all goes well, what's the fastest I can go live, right? Just ask those questions. So you need the technological capabilities, training, support, ease of onboarding. And of course, please make sure you're choosing the best in class. Right? Knowledge, best practices. Your partner needs to be able to give you those. They can't be cookie cutter. They can't be basic template things. You can't be talking to a partner and be like, ask a question. You're like, well, I read about that 6 years ago. You haven't changed anything. Like, there has to be that innovation and best practices, because if you're doing something from 6 years ago, is it bad? No, but I'm sure there's some innovation on it, right? It's how has it improved since then? So when you're looking for this, for these partners, and you're working from them, you have two right now on the call with you that happens to. And if you need to pick our brains further, hey, I'm trying to choose other technologies, you don't even have to be using one of our services. But if you have questions, you can dial up Patrick, and Patrick would say, look, make sure you ask this. Because if they don't have this, I can recommend you to someone. That's another best-in-class thing that partners do. We have access to the best-in-class technologies in the industry. And if you get stuck with someone, just call us. We'll tell you who's the best in class, right? Okay. Patrick, I don't know if you had anything else to add to that. I'm going to...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just you mentioned, just real quickly, you'd mentioned the compliance piece of it. And it's like, you've all dealt with those vendors where you kind of have to ask them, right? Like you're asking them for pieces of documentation, or you're asking them the questions. And I know how you guys operate, and we operate the same way, which is I know the questions you're going to ask me. I know the documents you're going to ask for. I've been asked a million times by a million other clients. So it's being prepared for that, so that when somebody wants to move quickly, instead of you sitting there saying like, hey, I need these 15 documents, like, here's my package, it's ready to go. Like, I already know what you need, right? And, yes. and that's a huge, a huge differentiator in the space, because that kind of tells you who understands this space, this mortgage space, and sort of those complexities with compliance, versus other people that are just trying to, kind of get a little bit into mortgage, but really don't understand the nuanced compliance aspects.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, very important, guys. This is a compliance industry that happens to do mortgages. that's pretty much it. And so having that and having that expertise is key. So very, very important other checkbox. But let's go into this other conversation where, look, we've been saying partner instead of vendor, but you guys see the word vendor in here for some reason. Why? Because it says, when evaluating vendors, what are some red flags to look for, right? A vendor, remember, gives you what you want. And so a partner is someone who's going to challenge you. So what are some red flags? Let's go back and forth on this. And I'd love to see some people in chat put in some thoughts on, like, what are some of the red flags you look for when evaluating a partner or a vendor? Let me just kick this off right off the bat. Just a real quick red flag. One of the biggest red flags that I see when I hear people coming over to us and sharing their experiences in other places is that support piece. where they are told there's support, but there's no proof of it, right? We have support, but there's no proof. There's as soon as something, S hits the fan, where's the support? It takes days or weeks to get a response. And so one of the biggest red flags is when you're talking about support, make sure you're asking your partner, what happens if, and who would be the person that I would hear from? Just like that. What happens if, and who's the person? So one of the biggest red flags was when somebody says, we'll find someone. we'll find someone. Big red flag. So let me start off with that. And I'll throw it to you, Patrick. What's another red flag that you see has come up that you may have heard from some of your clients as a red flag?
Yeah, I think speaking the language is always a huge key because there's a lot of technology companies that kind of cover different industries, right? But like you said before, the mortgage industry it's a compliance industry that happens to do mortgages on the side. So when I had heard from a client where they were talking to a vendor, and instead of that vendor calling the loan application a 1003, they called it a 1003. So they like, it's very clear that person, they know what the talking points are, but they're not, do they really understand what that originator is going through on a daily life, what it's like to talk to a borrower, and kind of, because you can't really, you can't really create meaningful technology for people if you don't understand, if you haven't kind of lived in their shoes a little bit and understand that, which I think is really something important in the mortgage industry, that, when you're the best partners are always ones that kind of focus in that space versus, trying to sell the same solution across different industries.
Well, I think you're saying something very important. One of the biggest red flags that Patrick is mentioning is specializing versus generalizing. I'm a generalist. I happen to work in your industry too. I have a 1003 thing for you versus specialist that goes, look, I know what it takes to get these 1003s completed and what the response should be. And here's where we get stuck. Very important. So red flag is my partner, potential partner, understanding every part of my business, or do they have some general solutions that I should be looking at? And can I expect them to understand my pain when the pain comes up? I love that. That's a very important one. And put into chat, anyone else have any other red flags? I mean, we can keep going into some red flags. One of the biggest red flags, while I wait for some people in chat, one of the biggest red flags I see is lack of integration. Lack of integration. People who work in silos, they say, hey, you want to use our tech? You want to use our service? Fantastic. You have to come to me. And you have to do everything in my environment. And then when you want to leave my environment and go somewhere else, you got to figure out how to export this stuff and put it into the place that you're actually operating in. Huge red flag. Stop it. I call it Lego tech. If your existing technology doesn't work with the next technology, don't use it. Where does this come from? Legos. I buy a Lego set from 3 years ago. I have a new Lego set today. Guess what? They all work together. Everything clicks together. Everything works beautifully. Then you get the off-brand Lego, Schmego, right? And nothing works. It doesn't matter. And so one of the biggest red flags is lack of integration. And so if your partners aren't having those things, they don't have, then they're a vendor, right? They're not a partner. And you need to reevaluate and look at some other options. And again, contact your best partners, like a Patrick, like a Alex, and go, hey, I'm stuck here. This company isn't giving me what, can you make a recommendation? All right. And I'll throw in one more red flag unless you have one, Patrick.
Oh, go for it.
One last red flag. When you're asking your vendors or partners for introductions to clients so they can give you their experience, and the vendor says, here's the one person you can call, hang up the phone. Hang up the phone right away. Don't look back. Doesn't matter how good the price is. Hang up and run. And they give you one, run. Two, run. When they say, who do you want to talk to? Then you have a great partner. Okay. All right. Let's keep it going. What are the 3 most important ways in which a partner can support the success of its customer? What do you think here? What do you guys do, Patrick, to make sure that your partners are successful?
I mean, we lean heavy into customer success, which I think is like a concept that a lot of, is kind of a newfangled concept, in the last like 10 years or so, customer success. But, our product, like yours, it's constantly evolving, right? You're constantly getting that user feedback, and you're constantly making enhancements and understanding what the consumer's goals are. So I think if when you're getting, when you can see that if you're getting a customer success rep assigned to account, that lender, that partner is, invested in that lender's success, because it's not just, you know how it is. Does me no good to sell somebody a piece of software and they don't use it.
That's right.
Right. Like,
That's right.
What good would that be? It's, maybe it's good in the short term, but in the long term, that person's not going to renew if they're not seeing success off of it. So
go ahead. Sorry, Patrick.
I was just going to say, as a business owner, it's important to kind of not only, the sale is great, but that's a very small part of it. It's monitoring what the usage is, and making sure that customer success is invested in making sure people understand how to use it, that it's solving their pain problems, things like that.
So look, what Patrick is saying in a nutshell is his team is focused on adoption and utilization. Patrick is saying, we don't want you to buy our piece of technology and not use it. I'd rather you not buy it, right? We have a lot of other people to service, but if you've already invested time and money, Patrick is saying, I have made sure that our team makes sure your team is using it. And not just knowing that it exists, but actually using it. There's this thing where people confuse adoption and utilization. Adoption is the knowledge that something exists. Utilization is the use of that thing that exists. And so knowing that you have something is important, right? Oh, I didn't know we had this technology. Okay, that's important. But utilizing it is the next step. And I have to echo that. That's exactly how we think about it. Our biggest staffing currently is in customer success and account management is where most of our people reside, because that's the same concept we have: support. Now, the other thing that Sales Boomerang does that's very interesting, as far as like what is most important, we listen, okay, to you and to the industry. And I'll give you an example. Over the COVID period, we had rolled out a product simply because our clients, actually prospects more than clients, were contacting us and saying, I need to turn this on as soon as possible. I'm getting all of these EPOs. Remember, during the COVID, the 2 years, everyone was refinancing month after month after month, and people were getting hit with hundreds of thousands of dollars in EPOs. Well, we wrote out a solution, listening to the customers, listening to the industry, that would do an EPO prevention alert, would tell you that there's a potential early payoff before there's an early payoff, to get you to that customer first, right? And so a great partner doesn't just tell you what you want. Nobody said, I want that. We heard what was happening, and we gave the industry what it needed, which was an alert to let you know there's a potential early payoff. So that's just another great example of a good partner working on your behalf as an extension of your team to give you what you need without you having to figure out if it's what you need or want, right? That's very important. So that's, again, two things that were just mentioned: adoption and utilization, making sure there's enough people getting your team to use it. And of course, listening and giving you and your team what you need to, in many cases, overcome challenges, which is what we just discussed, what was happening in COVID. So is there anything else that stands out for you, Patrick, as very important that we are supporting our clients in their success, and what the people on this call should be looking for?
I think one of the biggest things we did as a company was we started to figure out, where are people getting hung up? Where are things going wrong? Is somebody not able to log in a certain situation? Where do those pitfalls happen? We actually programmed our software to kind of alert us that if this happens, make sure we put a set of eyeballs on it.
Very nice.
If somebody can't log in, make sure the customer success person knows that this is the situation, so we can reach out, educate the person about it. So, you can kind of tell where, we use technology every day where that just doesn't exist, right?
That's right.
Left on your own to figure it out. But I think real partners that know, hey, we sell to loan originators, right? Like their job is to, finance the American dream, not necessarily be technology experts. So, kind of the partners who sort of invest in that user experience and knowing, hey, I know there's going to be some pitfalls here, so I'm going to kind of program my technology to make sure that, if somebody kind of finds themselves in this scenario, that, we're there to help them versus just kind of, throwing our hands back. So it's certainly easier said than done, but those investments certainly paid off for us, because that's how the customer walks away really satisfied, really, that's where the adoption and the engagement come in.
Yeah, listen to what Patrick just said. He said, imagine a scenario where you're having trouble logging into your phone, or having trouble using your phone, and Apple sends you a note saying, hey, we see that you're having trouble. Try this solution. Oh my goodness, how amazing would that be if all over the world, all the things that we own, somebody would do that? So here's a partner making sure you have success, because guess what? If you're using Patrick's technology, LenderLogix, and you're stuck, that means you're slower in getting things done. That's money. Time is money. So here's a partner that's gone above and beyond and saying, look, if you get stuck, there's some technology issues on our side and our system recognizes it. We'll be reaching out to you. You don't have to reach out to us. It's beautiful. Great things to look for in partners. Again, remember, communication support. This is all that this is about. And that early catch gives your team the chance to actually get the job done with ease and not get frustrated and like, oh, this isn't working. Somebody's reaching out, somebody's letting them know that we're listening and we're here for you. So very important thing to understand about how your partners can help you reach success. All right, how important is training for client success? And does the value of training make an impact on your decision to purchase a particular product? I want to hear from the audience on this, as long as they're still paying attention here. How important is training? And do you all make a decision based on that? Do we have a poll coming up around that? I think that's next. So, how important is training, and do you use that to make a decision in choosing a partner? I'll tell you like this, Patrick, from our standpoint, I'd say, man, a very large percentage, probably 40% of our sales conversations with prospects rely heavily on our training. We have John Maxwell certified trainers on staff. We have experts that have been in industry for decades here, ready to talk to your team on how to use best practices. At Sales Boomerang, Patrick, as you know, and as people in the audience may know, we're telling you when someone in your database is ready for a loan and which loan they're ready for. So the concept is super simple. There's not much to learn, but the complexity comes from delivering the message to the borrower. What should I say? When should I say it? I don't want to seem creepy. I want to seem like I'm supportive. Those are the things. And then how do I implement this technology through my CRM and my marketing automation system? So all of that training exists, and it exists in video form, live form, scripted form. And so we know that our clients do make a decision. I'm telling you, 30 to 40% of the time, they're like, look, because you're going to give us all this support, we're willing to pay a premium because we know we're going to get the results that you're talking about. I don't know, Patrick, from your side, do you hear that come up a lot?
Absolutely. And I'll be honest with you, that's probably something we didn't get right early on in our company. It was customer decides they want to purchase our product. We train them, we send them on their way, and they are successful using the product. And it just didn't work like that, right? That initial training, yeah, that initial training is maybe only 25% of it. Right. Yep. It's like, so how do you, an experienced company, an experienced platform then knows, okay, this is the training that I need to give this borrower this loan officer initially. But I know 2 months after, and after them, interacting with my software 25 times, that these are the things they need to learn about. And it, that comes with experience and having a product on the shelf for a period of time and listening to that user feedback. But that was a difficult thing to get right for us early on. It was just like, hey, we'll train them and then they'll be on their way and that's it. And it's like, no, an experienced partner kind of understands what those challenges are going to be downstream, the questions people have as they get more experienced with the software, and you kind of learn how to feather those things in, whether it's on-site training, whether it's, web-based training. Sometimes it's just it's just an email, but, kind of understanding those nuances, because, at the end of the day, like I said before, if somebody's not using my platform, that's no good for us. Yeah, we get a little short-term money, I guess, but long-term for us, it's, we want people who use and love the software every day.
And look, again, this is just a great example of a great partner. Patrick didn't stop at the first training. He learned and evolved and said, look, our team needs to be able to support at various stages of the relationship, not just here it is, you can figure it out. No, right? There's various stages, and this is what a great partner does. They evolve not because you asked them to, but because they see it, they feel it, they're listening to you, they understand where some of the pain points are, and they want to get ahead of it. And so it's so training, again, this is why we're having this conversation, right? Everyone that's on this call, you're here to understand, how do you win together? How do you create an extended relationship with a partner that has your back and is ahead of problems, not behind them? Training is part of that. Giving you the ability to give your team information that they can utilize day in, day out. And vendors, people that aren't real partners, they will give you a cookie cutter presentation. Patrick and Sales Boomerang and LenderLogix customizes its presentations. It's not a one size fits all. It's what your team needs at this moment. And here's the training, and here's the next one, here's the next one. So very important. And yes, you should be making decisions. You absolutely should be making decisions on whether your partner is going to be willing to train your team and how much, and if there's a cost, if there's no cost, is there a limit, whatever. You need to know those things. So
Alex, just to, the point you just made there, I think is important, where customizing that training. So we sell in the mortgage space, right? But the mortgage space is not one size fit all. You have consumer direct lenders, you have retail lenders that sell to, that develop relationships with real estate agents. You have depositories where leads come in from branches. And that goes back to the point that we made before about specializing in the mortgage industry, understanding those nuances. And what is my user doing? Am I selling to a loan officer that's sitting at a desk all day, on the phone running leads? Is my loan officer bouncing between appointments at real estate offices? Are they in a bank branch where customers are walking in to apply for mortgages? So really understanding that, understanding the business, understanding who your customer is, and then kind of knowing what they're doing on a day-to-day basis is really critical to making sure that you're training the person to use your software, at its highest best use.
Guys, look, this information that Patrick and I are sharing with you is so important to have a checklist, even if it's a mental checklist, that you're choosing the right partners. That's specialization. I mean, Patrick, we need to drive this message home one more time. There's a lot of organizations that want to do everything for everyone. That is not where we are in this world today. That used to be an all-in-one solution, used to be great. But, as a kid, I had a Swiss Army knife. Guess what? No, not necessary anymore. I want the best screwdriver. I want the best knife, right? I want the best flashlight. I don't want something that will die after 5 minutes of use or break after I put it into something that's much more difficult than it was designed for. That's a Swiss Army knife. And sorry if anyone here is a Swiss Army knife enthusiast in some way, but you want specialists moving forward in life. You want someone that knows for sure the advice they're giving you is accurate. It's proven. It works. It's not a guess. It's not, hey, I hope this works for you. I'm not sure yet, but maybe you can tell me if it does. A problem. Oh, we have that covered. Oh, we have the solution too. When did you add it? Oh, 6 months ago, we just decided to plug it in. We haven't paid attention to it in 6 months. We just turned it on and went on to the focus of our business, whatever that is. When you have those scenarios, ask hard questions. If this is not your focus, why are you getting into it? How are you going to support it? You just rolled out this technology. How are you going to support it? Well, every year we're going to look at it. run away quickly, right? So just what Patrick is saying is brilliant. Specialization is really what all of you should be looking for in your partner, specialists. All right, my partners reach out to me for feedback. Too much, just the right amount, not enough. I love this, by the way. Like, this is, in my opinion, Patrick, this is one of the most important things. This is where you're not Henry Ford waiting for someone to tell you what they want, but you are that scientist that is asking questions, asking for feedback, so that you can pick up the nuance and answers and say, whoa, I've heard from 150 people. This seems to be similar, different all over the places, how they want to see it. But the concept is similar. And now we're going to make it better than what you even requested for. So feedback is crucial. So let's hear, is it too much? Leave me alone. Is it just right amount or not enough? I have things to say.
As you're going through here saying this, I'm thinking back to previous jobs that I've had where I sat in kind of in that orientation, or the organization that I worked for brought in a new vendor, new piece of software that we were going to use, and how you kind of got that 2-hour presentation, the training, you got a big, thick, manual if you needed help. And that was it, right? Like, it's going through my head right now. I'm just can feel myself in that room. And then since 2 or 3 months later how lost I was, or how I knew how much value I was leaving on the table, versus companies that invest in that customer success, where it's just constant feedback loop where you're able to ask those questions and develop features. So this is like, it's given me like nostalgia, maybe not in a good way, but thinking back to those times, and I imagine everybody on the call experienced that in the past.
Negative nostalgia. I don't know if I'd ever hear that. Look at this. Not enough. Everyone that responded, not enough. We didn't hear from everyone, but not enough. Right? They're not asking for feedback enough. And by the way, I hear this as a trend in the industry. Everyone says they want to be able to tell their partners, vendors may not want to hear from you, right? Because they're going to give you what you want. Listen to what we're saying here. If you go to a vendor who's not a real partner and ask for what you want, the vendor is going to give it to you. So they're tired of that. They're afraid to even ask your feedback because they're going to have to give you what you want, and they don't have the ability to do that. So they stop asking. A great partner will always ask for feedback. As a matter of fact, in Miami, in a week, we're doing a client advisory board. We're bringing our clients into a room, and they're going to be advising us in person. What is the next step for Sales Boomerang over the next year or two, not 6 months, not 3 months, because we have that roadmap already created. It's how do we evolve? How do we think about the industry and the client? And not only do we want their feedback, but we're literally bringing them in a room and telling them to tell it to our faces. We're going to whiteboard. We're going to have some creative sessions, but your partner, like a Patrick, like an Al, we want that. And you have other great partners. There's amazing partners in this industry. If you're not working with one that's asking for your feedback and asking to get involved, you need to check, right? You need to start thinking, is this the right partner for you? All right. How should your partner reach out for feedback? This is important. How do you guys do it? How do you get feedback from your clients, Patrick?
We, all the usual ways of talking to the client, whether it's going on site, whether it's regular check-ins. But one of my favorite things to do is ask our clients to tell us stories. Tell me a story of how maybe you did things before you used our software, and now tell me a story of how your life is different. How are your, what happened? Were you able to, did your borrower have a better experience? And tell me those stories. And then when you're telling me, how you want us to improve our product, tell me a story. Tell me how you use it today, and tell me what it would look like if, what that experience would look like if we made a certain enhancement. Because to me, that's much more valuable than somebody just saying, I'd like you to add a checkbox here that does that. I'd like you to add a button here that does that. Tell me the story and tell me how that experience would be different, because, we can then take that and sort of weave that into our roadmap to kind of build things out. But the storytelling to me has always just been a very important way of kind of letting that customer kind of, really communicate to you what they're looking for, versus just, would you prefer a checkbox here? I prefer a checkbox there.
I think that's brilliant, Patrick. And I'll tell you right now, I'm going to adopt that here, because I love that storytelling concept, because through storytelling, you're having the person say, well, we typically log in like this. And what I do is I go here and I have this experience. I might get a phone call once in a while in between, and I get back to it. And that's where I miss it once I get back to it. And it's like, oh, Patrick can go, well, obviously, because it times out. Okay, so what we need to do, right? And through story, you can get the feedback you need. So I think that's brilliant. The way at Sales Boomerang, we have a few different ways. We have customer success, we have product managers, right? So we have different ways that we have people from customer success team that talk and get feedback from customers. We also have product that sits with customers and talks about and gets their feedback from them that way. And we have, as I mentioned, client advisory boards, where this is a trusted group that covers every possible channel, size, opportunity, so that we're hearing from those organizations, and they're speaking and really covering things on behalf of all the clients. But we're collecting it in these circles of trust, if you will. But as an organization here, it's customer success asks questions and records information, product asks questions and reports information, and then we have these events where we're getting it from multiple groups at once that represent, you know, a balance of everyone that we work with. So those are the different ways. But I will start to weave in that storytelling rather than question answer. Tell me a story about this. I think that's brilliant, and everyone should take that away and use that with their partners. I love that. All right. How are you contributing to your partner's roadmap? This is for you guys, for the audience. We just talked about this. You should be, based on what Patrick said, and I agree with it, you should be telling stories to your partners, right? Tell them the experiences. Don't just say, this isn't working right. Go right into the story. I log in, this happens, and then this part, when I get here, it doesn't work. Talk about that. Tell them the story of where you want to be. We want to be here. We want to do this. We want to do that. But when we get to this point, it gets stuck. Through storytelling, contribute to the roadmap, and in your stories, and this is why I think this is so great, Patrick, in your stories is the gold. There's some gold in there, and people who listen, partners who listen, will extract that gold, refine it, and turn it into a piece of jewelry you can put on and make it work for you, right? And so that's great communication. How else, Patrick? How should people be contributing to their partner's roadmap? Anything else come to mind?
You just mentioned something that I wish it's a photo that goes around online. I'll share it with you afterwards. And it's it's basically a car that's got all this duct tape over it and all this crap, you know, bolted to it. And it's basically like, this is somebody that did exactly what their customer asked them to do.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Like kind of bolted it all together and duct taped it. And that's one way of doing business. And that's what you end up with, is this, you know, this horrible looking car, versus what you just said, finding those pieces of gold in those conversations and really kind of understanding the goal that your user is trying to get to. Like, what are we trying to do? What is that loan officer really trying to accomplish? And how can we contribute to that? And quite frankly, there might sometimes be where we feel we're not the best suited place for something like that.
That's right.
You know, so, but you're able to have those conversations and say, we don't think we're the right avenue for that. And this is why. That's not exactly, you're trying to solve a separate issue that is maybe solved best going in this direction. So, you know, I love what you're talking about with the customer advisory panels and kind of hearing those things, because once you know, these are, you know, when you kind of talk to your power users, you start to kind of figure out some of those things a little bit more. But it's critical. I mean, you know, I was a loan officer, but I'm not taking those applications every day like a loan officer is today. So I really need to listen to them in order to kind of understand what to build versus pretending like I know better than they do.
Well, and look, contributing to your partner's roadmap is contributing to your own roadmap. That's all it is. If you're partners, then their success is your success. And so you want to help them with that. If there's no roadmap, if there's no growth, and you have had no contribution and you don't know where they're going, how can you build your business? How can you go, hey, I'm going to blindly go in this direction when the real direction is going to be going this way, and you don't know it. And so you want to be able to contribute. And what you're going to get is two things. When you contribute, you'll hear feedback. No, we're not doing that. And if that's very important to you, like no matter what, this thing that you just described is very necessary over the next couple of years, then you can start winding down the relationship. Say, look, this is great, but we really, really need this. It's not on your roadmap. That's okay. We just need to find someone it is on. If you hear it is, and then you can contribute the exact nuance of how it could work, great. Their roadmap, your partner's roadmap, is your roadmap. Don't forget that. Look, Patrick, we covered a ton. We gave people an entire checklist, a plethora of information about how to make your success, our success, your success, and the difference between vendors and partners, what to ask for, how to ask for it, what the relationship should look like and feel like. After this, everyone on this call, you guys all should feel confident to go into any conversation with a vendor, make sure it becomes a partner, get into any conversation with a partner and know exactly the red flags versus the positive insights that you're getting that says, this is a partner for me. They're going to look out for me. Now, look, both of our informations are on here. Anything you guys may need. This is why we do this. We do this to lift the industry. We don't do this for ourselves to just talk and just, of course, if you need our services, please, this is why we're here too. And we're doing this to give you all a leg up and give you actionable information that you can use tomorrow or today even. to choose the right partners or evaluate your existing partners. So Patrick, this was great. Anything you want to leave the audience with before we head out?
I'll just say one of my favorite conversations to have on a day or in any given week is when one of my clients calls and asks us to discuss the potential partnership with another software provider.
Yes.
What are your thoughts? I'm sure you feel the same way. Yes. That's what you're here for, right? Is yes. Like, I can't sell you everything. I don't have every solution, that's for sure. But when a lender calls and wants to have that discussion with us about, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? We're here for that. I mean, we are absolutely here for that.
I love that. That's just another good sign of a good partner. So if you're calling your partners and saying, what do you think about this or that? And they say, stop calling me with this stuff. We don't do that. Red flag, just like, hey, what do you mean? Like we're partners, right? Like So I love that. And I agree with you 100%, Patrick. When our clients ask us about a certain technology, a certain service, a certain solution, we love those conversations. If we haven't heard of a solution, we actually go and research it and come back and say, look, we talked to 50 of our clients and they said they love it, right? Or if they keep coming back and saying there's no use case, then we say the truth. We don't have any use cases, so we can't help. But if it's something we know or someone we know, every time we give you the advice, the direction, and then we talk about how we help make that 1 + 1 = 4, right? Instead of 1 + 1 = 2, if you choose to go with this partner or this solution that you're talking about. So I think that was an excellent point and an excellent way to end this discussion. Thank you, everyone. Patrick, thank you so much for being on. This was fantastic. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And we will see you all on the next edition where we talk some more great technology.